Welcome to Wellness Radio with Dr. Jeanette Gallagher as your host. Her show discusses topics of health, wellness, and spirituality, and is about discovering your place in this great universe, from your cells to the cosmos. Along with her guests, in casual conversation, she strives to ask the difficult questions that may be holding you back from a vibrant life, and shares new ideas that may inspire you to make a change in your life that you only can see in your dreams. And now, here is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Radio. This is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here this evening. Tonight we're going to be talking about sleep. How do we get there? How do we stay there? What do we engage in? How do we come out of it? I know for myself, I'm always doing out-of-body work as a medium in my sleep, and sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I go, oh dear, I didn't know I'm back here. Sometimes it's hard to get to sleep for many people, and they say my mind just keeps on going and I don't know where it's taking me. Still others say, in my thoughts and in my dreams, I have all of these ideas of what to do, or maybe I have a parallel timeline playing out. Others are saying, I'm seeing my regrets and those things that went bump in the night for me, and it's not a peaceful time. How can we shift our focus in how we present sleep in the first place? What is it all about? How do we get there? And how can we stay asleep and have a pleasant experience? Isn't that really what we're looking for? We don't want sleep to be so tumultuous that we feel like when we wake up in the morning, we've been running on a treadmill and we'd like to go back to bed for the rest of the day. My guest today is Shannon Kaiser. Her book is 365 Happy Bedtime Mantras. Improve your sleep, release stress, and enjoy your dreams. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Glad to have you because I think, just as I shared, I think that sleep sometimes means so many different things to so many people. What do you think sometimes sleep presents to for you?
Well, it's so interesting because sleep health is its whole category now. It's really, I was out at the bookstore the other day and I noticed an entire section on just sleep health, and they call it sleep hygiene. Several years ago, even just a couple years ago, we weren't really talking about it, but we have become an epidemic. There's a society issue of not getting enough sleep. You know, over 70% of adults are waking up tired, as you were so eloquently saying in the beginning there, that we're waking up feeling stressed, and that's when we're supposed to be relaxing. And so for several years, I actually suffered, and I didn't know why, and I did a sleep study and found out that I had severe sleep apnea. And in working with some of the tools that I presented in my new book, I was able to help reverse and recognize the spiritual, emotional, and mental aspects of that to help me de-stress and come back into my body to use rest for really rejuvenation, which is what it's designed for. And I think a lot of us are so stressed out that we're not really prioritizing sleep. So now that we can look at it that way, things can really change.
I think your book truly, for many, is very eye-opening because it's saying, do you actually think that I can do something about my sleep time? I know for myself, being in healthcare over 5 decades, sleep was, you just hit the bed, you dropped, you slept, you woke up, and that's the way it was. And it could be at any time of the day or night, and that's the way we worked. That was what it was expected. That's what we did, and we were good at it. Now that I am kind of slowing down my schedule, I'm noticing more and more that I really do, as I shared, a lot of my nighttime is really doing out-of-body spiritual work. So I think there's a transition going on in the world right now.
Absolutely.
Where a lot of people who are in now this awakening spiritual path, and they are finding out there's different things going on in their sleep, and they're becoming more aware of it. That's number one. Number two, others are saying, I don't really care what's going on in my sleep. I'm just going to hit the bed, and I really want my physical body to be able to rest. So there is sleep of the mental mind, the spiritual essence, and the physical body. There's 3 ways in which we need to find that restful moment, perhaps?
Exactly, and that is why I really needed to write this book. There's a lot of research on sleep health. In sleep health, they call it sleep hygiene now. And so often we have to look at our health in a holistic, as you know, spiritual aspect as well, and the emotional aspects. And sleep hygiene is really taking the world by storm in the sense that there's more science now that proves how important it is. But we don't necessarily need science to know that if we're not feeling good when we wake up, then there's something wrong. And I love that you're talking and bringing in the spiritual aspect, because we are becoming more aware. There's a lot of spiritual work happening, especially as we awaken and step deeper into the awakening of humanity and the 5D consciousness. Our sleep is so valuable as our bodies are upgrading, as we're kind of shifting into more loving awareness. And so in this book, I bring in the spirituality aspect in a way that's tangible for us. We don't have to be, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you can get tools. And that's really where the rituals and mantras come into play, because before bed, it's as easy as attuning your mind to focus on a priority or an intention. You can go to bed tonight and say, dreams, please give me guidance and on a certain situation or whatever it may be. And you'll be amazed, as you know, you're doing this, and when you wake up the next morning, how much guidance you get. You're working with your intuition and subconscious all at once.
Your book is a listing of mantras, reflections, and tips to be able to bring you into a state of finding out the benefit, of sleep. What I liked about your book, it also had some space around each page. So if you opened up a specific page, let's say you just opened up any page, or you could go by calendar or your special numbers or whatever that might be, you can just read what it is there for the day. But you can, at the morning time or the next day, you can also write some notes on the page. You could use it as more or less your sleep diary. You could say, this worked, this didn't work, this is what I got, this is what I found in my dreams, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly how I wanted to design the book, to make it work for you, because there's no one size fits all. And as we start to ascend and grow in our journeys and heal as well, we have to find the right process for us. So I really did design this book. Of course, it's 365 days worth of meditation, mantras, and nightly rituals, but you can read one day at a time. Or I designed it where you open up to any page, and that's the mantra the universe, your higher power, your spirit guides have for you. And it's a beautiful way to get in deeper. And once you find out what really works for you, you can develop a more routine practice that really solidifies and helps you sleep better. And when we sleep better, we live better.
Yeah. Let's talk about the idea of getting to sleep. Let's start there. And going to sleep, sometimes people are saying, I'm laying in bed and I'm scrolling through my phone or I'm watching television or whatever it might be. And still others of us are saying, I'm making a list for the next day. And when you do that, you kind of set yourself up because your day hasn't even ended yet when you're ready to be able to start to rest, to be able to turn down the thoughts in your mind, to get your body to say, hey, stop, just take a moment and breathe. Don't you think many of your mantras in here are about being able to say, what can you say to yourself and in your thoughts to be able to slow down those trains that seem to keep running?
That's exactly it. It's as much a mental process as a physical process. And, you nailed it. A lot of the sleep experts, they talk about, for optimal sleep, we want cool, quiet, in a dark space. But there are some people who don't want it quiet. They like sleeping with nature sounds or a sound machine with, waves. And so what's really beautiful about the process is it gets into the heart of what's going to work for you. It's about authentic living. And a mantra really signals to the brain that you are attuning to something that is going to be more positive, and really shift you to focus. And when our brain recognizes a routine, this is the best part before bed, we're able to calm down, and it signals that you are safe. And when we feel safe, we're able to relax deeper. So bedtime routines are one of the best ways to kind of signal, hey, body, we're going to get into rest now. And, removing the distractions an hour or two before bed is really wise.
It's so interesting. So many times people will say, let's have a thought that says I'm going to have peaceful, positive dreams and thoughts in my sleep tonight. And for myself, as I said, I would do a lot of work at night. But does that mean I'm not going to see the ghosts that are walking up and down the hallway, or am I not going to be able to have the dreams where I'm helping someone, or perhaps maybe a loved one had died and I'm taking them to heaven with my end-of-life work? So for myself, that doesn't work. However, for 99.9% of the population, yes, it does work. However, if you are in the space where I am, or you're bridging the gap, or something is new to you, take what the mantras say and fix the words and alter them so that they do work, because you will find what works for your own personal adventure in sleep time. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times we try to push and shove people into this space, and we say this is where you need to go because. And as soon as you hear the word because, we go, oops, no. And I think sometimes it's like, oh, these are suggestions, and isn't it awesome? What does it bring up for you? That's what we're asking.
Exactly it.
Take exactly what's on the pages and say, now, close your eyes. What does it bring up for you? That's what we want to be able to inspire, correct?
Yeah, 100%. It really is about allowing yourself to be the hero of your own life and knowing what works for you. And sometimes mantras, they're affirmations. So when we say them, and I do this in my life coaching practice as well, you want to make sure it resonates. You don't want to be saying something that just doesn't ring true. But I would guess, with what you shared, even to take it deeper, it is about the energy of the words, not necessarily the words per se. So you really are in peace because you're living your mission, and you might be, helping the ghosts and seeing these things that might not to the naked eye look peaceful, but you truly are helping them ascend to peace. Or, there's different ways we can look at each one, because I truly believe we always get what we need.
Right, because I think it's important also to, sometimes people will say in their dreams, they see a lot of stories about their profession. I was a dental hygienist in my earlier careers in the 70s, and a lot of my dreams are centered around cleaning teeth or whatever, something like that. Or maybe people or patients that I had or places that I worked. And I said, oh, that's so interesting. They're just drifting by, and they're a fragment of a memory. Sometimes people take those dreams and say, do I have to use it as this monumental thing that I need to remember because it's important? Perhaps not, right?
That's exactly the key. It is really about the elements and for specifically, I think it's important to pay attention to reoccurring dreams, because that's in our subconscious. When we have a reoccurring dream, it's something, and we can ask, well, what does this represent? Maybe you're so thankful to be out of that career, get shifted into something new, or, there's a reoccurring dream that people have of returning to school or showing up to work naked, the common ones. And you recognize the feeling behind it. Well, how do I feel in the dream? And that can be the awakening opportunity, the pillar of awesome opportunity, if you will, to give us more guidance during our day. There really is no wrong. It's not like it's important to be compassionate in the journey and let the dreams kind of inspire you, which is part of the process. It's fun that way.
Let's talk about the relaxation rituals. I think these are really important too. You say, to have those at night. I also use them in the morning. Light a candle, burn some incense, sit in peace.
Beautiful.
Say thankful for the night, reflect on your day. So I kind of have flipped my days and nights. But sometimes when you do this at nighttime, it kind of centers the energy in the room. It kind of quiets any chatter that might be going on in your thoughts. And it also, too, shifts kind of the frequency that you are having in your room. Sometimes, when my kids were younger, they would all be running around. You would go in your room and you would say, oh, I can breathe. There's silence, And when you can take that moment of silence, that's when all of a sudden your mind and your thoughts just go, oh, I can diffuse. So rituals are really about how can you shift the frequency and how can you turn down the wheels of the noise, yes?
It absolutely connects us into our heart space. You really hit it on the head there, because, and something you shared, you do it in the morning. Our sleep health really does start first thing in the morning. And so the goal is to actually be able to wake up and have a morning practice as well, because that sets you up for the whole day. And it also gives your body the clues to, we are safe, we are guided. And at night, it not only shifts the energy, but it's signaling, like we said, to your brain and your central nervous system that you're doing a routine, so I am safe and I'm calm. And when you do that, your mind and body and your whole system can really relax into its space. It's also about self-love.
Right. It's also, too, I think about the way in which you cherish and honor your sleep room or even your bed. I know for myself, I had gotten these really soft sheets, and my husband kept saying, God, we live in New Orleans. It's, 200 degrees in this bedroom all the time. We can never get it cool. Forget it. And I have these sheets, from the winter that are kind of like soft. I said, well, you know what? The soft one on the bottom is fine, and we'll just use a top sheet as just a blanket. And finally, I took them off. I left them on an entire year round. I took them off. He said, where are those sheets? These other ones are terrible. So I think sometimes we get used to the softness and the comfort of that which we sleep within, perhaps?
Oh, yeah. And, our sleep environment is so important because it's a part and an extension of us. And so wanting to find things that work for you, as late into my sleep health journey, as I was researching this book, I switched to linen sheets. It changed everything for me. And it's because I'm a cool sleeper myself, and I also just love that they're naturally made out of Portugal. And I think there's an element of self-care and self-love with our bedtime routines and our bedtime space. You're really showing up for yourself and saying, I matter, and I'm focusing on taking care of myself.
Yeah. It's so funny. They have a lot of women's creams out now. Put this on your face, put this on your body at nighttime. And I'm going, oh, when you're hot and you're sweaty, no way, Jose, But I found,
especially where you live.
Yeah, I know. Hot and humid, and that's the way you live. But I found this one cream, and it has melatonin and magnesium in it. And I really wasn't looking for either one of those. But what I was looking for, it had a beautiful scent of lilacs. And that reminded me of my grandmother, and that was pretty much the only time in my life where I actually was able to unplug, so to speak, in my younger years to be able to sleep with that kind of sense of sleep. What is it all about? And I just barely put enough on my hands to be able to smell it at night. And I said, this was all I needed. So that really is about being able to find the practice that works for you. What does it bring back? Does it bring back a memory? Does it bring back comfort and security? Does it bring back a time in which you were able to, as I shared, diffuse and relax and really know what sleep meant? Try to find those memories, and those really do assist you on your journey, yes?
Yeah, and one of the most special parts about writing this book was being able to practice and really try out each ritual to make sure that it worked. And I really wanted to infuse all of those elements, so our mental health, our physical health, and even the psychology of what's keeping us awake during the day. So the rituals include essential oils or sound therapy, bird songs. There's a lot of science with how nature can help infusing the moonlight into your sleep ritual. And so we have to find what works for us, but it really is about coming back to yourself. Because when you feel safe and when you feel like you're at home, you might be in your home, but maybe there's something chaotic happening in your home. But if you allow yourself to wind down before bed, you're able to unhook from any drama or anything that's going on and tune into the power of the pause. And in that space, it may trigger a beautiful memory. And all of a sudden, you're connecting to your inner child. And it's a beautiful process right before you go to bed.
It's so funny. My kids, when they noticed my bedroom, they said, the bed is at an odd position. It should not be over here. It needs to be over there. That's called the bed wall. And I'm going, you're not going to feng shui. You're not going to feng shui me, and my bed is not going on that wall. And the reason is because they didn't even know, and yet they weren't even aware, is that outside, on the outside of the building, was where the 5D optic lines boxes are. Well, so why would I put my head? Why would I put my head on that quote bed wall, right? So in my
really
thoughts,
bring up a good point.
In my thoughts, it was this is where I'm going. I don't care about feng shui. I don't care about a bed wall. My bed is going over here because when I open my eyes, I can look directly out the window, and that's good enough for me. And I think the idea is that no matter what is out there, take it. Breathe it in, and then say, this is where I would like to be next. This is what I would like to do next. And this is how I would like to experience it. Because a lot of times, things that people try to say, you're going, okay, I'll do it because you're saying it will do this, ... And you're buying an outcome. And you and I are not sharing an outcome. What we're sharing is an experiential journey. Yes?
Yes. 1,000%. It is about energy, and it's about knowing your true self. And that's why that's such a great example, because we go through life and people will always share what they know, and there's a lot of tips and different rituals and everything out there. And I even say in the very beginning in the introduction, make these your own. These are, a lot of different ideas to put in your toolbox, but the most beautiful part is you get to put yourself in it. And I think what's really special that you shared about that is, especially for those of us who are highly sensitive, psychic, channelers, there is this energetic aspect of our health and our sleep. And energy is everything. And we are extra sensitive to certain energies, especially in the realms out there with technology. And so attuning to that is really going to help us understand in almost, putting barriers or blocks. There's an exercise you can do where you surround yourself with like a royal blue light before, cocoon yourself in a protective shield of blue ray light for yourself, and that can kind of help. There's a lot of different tools, but we have to find what works for us for our own energetic practice. Other people, they'll sage their room before bed. Some people will say a prayer. It's important to touch in. And, we can try it, but everything I do is about adventure and creating a life adventure. So I love that you use that word, because it is about adventuring and experimenting with your own journey.
I think a lot of times when I have a lot of patients at end of life or that have chronic illness, I say the first thing to do is go out into the baby section of the groceries of the store, or whatever you go. And, it could be Walmart, it could be your specialty store, it could be online, whatever it is. And feel the blankets, or have something draw to you and say, this is a baby blanket, and I absolutely love how it feels. And the answer, that's awesome, because it's your soft place to land. Sleep is supposed to be your soft place to land. But if it's only a square of a baby blanket, you can find sleep, and you can find peace, and you can find comfort wherever you are with that blanket, be it in a hospital, be it in hospice, be it no matter where you are. So find something that will tell you what is the comfort you're seeking and how you can receive it, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really nice what you're sharing, too, because it's about that feeling. If you're looking for comfort, there is an experience, a physical experience of feeling softer. And so we can invite softer into our life in other ways. And so attuning to that tool that we feel guided towards, and then asking, what is it about this, such as the blanket, it makes me feel safe, or it makes me feel comforted. And then you tap into that energy. I want to call in more comfort in my life. I want to call in more safety. And then you'll be blown away and surprised at how the universe starts to show up throughout your whole day. You're calling in, more of what you are seeking. And so it's also not about seeking outside of yourself, but starting from within.
Let's talk about also to the idea of trauma. A lot of people have a lot of trauma around the bed, around the bedroom, and around the time of sleep. And it really starts to come up when you start doing healing processes. A lot of times it comes up with patients, chronic illness. They start to have dreams, or this is what I don't want. There's a lot of regrets and guilt. And there's a lot of things and secrets that be kept behind. I know for myself, it's like, do not shut the bedroom door. It's like, no, I am not in a cave. Do not shut the bedroom door. And I think the idea is that a lot of times people will say, how do you get around the traumas that have occurred in the past, in your childhood, perhaps in your adult life, or even within a health condition, a medical condition, no matter what it might be? There's a lot of traumas in our life, and how do you find a way to find comfort in sleep? First of all, is identifying them. Awareness. If you take your book and you're reading something and you're going to say, ooh, that's a trigger for me, write the trigger down. Be in awareness and say, this doesn't work for me, this is a trigger, go to the next page, find something different. What you will end up with is a diary of what you can work on, what you can heal, and what processes maybe something that does work for you, because there's 365 of them in the book. You're going to find one or two. If you find one or two, you're good as gold, because that's what you were meant to find. You weren't meant to find yourself on every single one of these pages, right?
That's how I wanted to write the book. It's a very special journey into our heart. And what happens when we go to bed as a trauma-informed coach, and I worked with a trauma therapist as well, and overcame a lot of different situations. And the bedtime routine for me became a sanctuary, a carving out of the whole day where I could really focus on peace. And we can set that intention, but there does happen to be a lot of trauma that comes up, and it's our brain sometimes. It's the first time when we're not in go-go mode. The light has turned to dark. Our body's starting to recalibrate and rest. So it's almost like a trigger happens within our body where cognitive dissonance might happen of the things we didn't allow ourselves to process in the day come up at night. It's like the spooky things at the night, but it doesn't have to be. And you nailed it with awareness. Just be aware. But also we can bring in other things like the blanket or the things that make us feel safe. I love copal incense. I will burn those. I lived in Mexico for a while and worked with shamans, and there's a very healing energy to that. I also love to sleep with my window open and bring the fresh air in. So finding things that help you feel safe, it's working through PTSD, it's working through the trauma aspects in a safe way, knowing that you are safe, and it's not set to trigger you more, but to help you find safety within your own self.
Yeah, I think there are so many different things with so many people and different aspects of where we are in our life, what's unfolding for us, what we've been through. It's all about those filters of experiences that we see everything through, our perception of the world around us, that really starts to come up when we have that relaxed time, especially when our buttons have been pushed. Our buttons can be pushed, in stress all day long. They could be all nighttime long. They could be with people that are around us. It could be just with your sleep partner. It could be anything. And you could say, this just doesn't work for me. And once you can say, what doesn't work for you? And then say the what is the what? What is the because? What is the why? What is the how can I do or how can I be? Once you start identifying those, when you start getting off of that point, that's a jumping off point to say, perhaps I can see this. Perhaps I can enjoy this. Perhaps I can just stop and not even have anything after the word. We don't always have to have something else to bring us into it. Perhaps?
Well, what's really great about what you're sharing is you hit it on the head, because this book isn't just like, I fall asleep and feel better, in the sense of it's not just about sleep. As a coach and a trauma-informed coach, I really wanted to look at, well, what's keeping us from sleep? And it's all of what you said. It's stress relief, chronic pain, relationship issues, self-blame or shame, insecurities, trauma from childhood, all the things that go bump in the night. And so I wanted to have a mantra and a practice and a meditation and ritual to help. So this book covers all of those. So you might have a mantra that is aligned with, I feel peace and I attract healthy reciprocal relationships. And, I release the pain in my body and mind. And, of course, we start there, just as you said, as a starting point to jump off. How does this feel? Well, this resonates. Oh, I feel this in my body. I can do a somatic exercise with this. Oh, maybe a yoga pose, maybe breath work. And so it's a very holistic process to help us heal and feel better within, so we can sleep better.
In closing, let's talk about when it doesn't work at all. And you're just saying, sleep partner doesn't work. I have to find another way. Or you say, I just can't be in this position in this bedroom. Or I need to find sleep. And my sleep and safety might be a couch. Others, for their health and their chronic illness, it might be a recliner. And I would say honor that. Dress it up. Have it be your sanctuary. Have it be the best place ever. But devote time to it to really, truly honor it, because it is providing that saving grace. Yes?
Yeah, and it's so special when you start to honor what works for you. That's really what we're getting at. I know some couples who have been married for more than 50 years, and they decided very early in their marriage, we will sleep in other rooms because we get a great good night's sleep. But society didn't do that. They don't usually talk about that. But they found what works for them. And they are so fulfilled in their relationship. And so I think we have to look at our sleep health and what does my body need? And that's another thing. Like you said, well, I need to go sleep on the couch tonight, or I maybe need to go. There have been times where I would go sleep outside under the stars, just because I know for me that's very healing. And I lived out in the country where I could do that. And it is so, the amount of moonlight and the stars and just the peace I feel when I'm camping. We have to touch into our values and then allow that to guide us. And it's part of the healing journey. It's part of the beautiful life adventure. And it's part of living better because you're sleeping better.
And it's definitely about being able to note what is emitting a frequency in your space. If you're sleeping in the recliner and right in front of you is the router, maybe you need to put the router down on the floor and move it away from you. If you are perhaps sleeping and we don't leave the windows open here. Our mosquitoes are bigger than dogs. But anyway.
Yes, you have some other bugs that come in too.
if you're leaving, your window slightly open so that you could see outside, and sometimes you're saying, I want to see the morning sun come up. But, you've got a nighttime spotlight outside your window. Maybe that's not the best idea. So find out what works for you and find ways to enjoy your own bliss. And I think that's a closing best comment. Enjoy your own bliss and find a way, perhaps.
Yeah, enjoy your own bedtime bliss and know that you're right where you need to be. Take out that shame or I need to figure this out. No, you're actually right. It's right where you're supposed to be. Enjoy the process and the adventure.
Yeah. And if your bed is not on the bed wall, so what?
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't tell you how many times people come in, your bed doesn't belong here. And it's like, oh, go away. Just go away.
You're like, I know that it's supposed to be here. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference. Oh, I know the other one I forgot to mention, Shannon. If you were someone who sleeps on the bottom of your bed, isn't it awesome? Because it's just where you want to be. Have you ever, sometimes when my grandkids come over, they all have their little spaces, on their beds and stuff where they could sleep. And 90% of the time, they will migrate it to my room. None of them will sleep in the beds. They say, it doesn't feel comfortable there. They will get in my bed, and we'll get one across the bottom, one's up and down the other way, and I'm trying to hang on the end just to keep them in there. So I think sometimes we say, it doesn't matter what position. It doesn't matter up or down. It doesn't matter hanging off the end or not. It's what is your life all about? Yes?
Yeah, it's so special. I have this vision of you all cuddled up like, pack of love in your bed. What's special about what you shared is it's about the love. You're bringing in so much love into your bedroom. Family is important to you, and you're letting that happen. For me, I have my 90-pound dog who takes up more than the bed, and I sleep so well because I know he's sleeping well. And so I think we really have to allow ourselves to there's a lot of research out there, and I, have done all of it for this book. There's the sleep science. Have it this way, make it look this way, but the bottom line is you are your own unique soul, and honor what works for you.
Yep.
Yeah, just bring in more love.
Find out whatever it is. Yeah. Well, Shannon, it was a pleasure to have you with us. Can you share with the listeners how to find out more information about your work?
Yeah, it's been great to be here. Thank you. So 365 Happy Bedtime Mantras is out now, and it's available at your favorite bookstore or online. And you can find me at my website, playwiththeworld.com.
Very good. Well, Shannon, it was such a pleasure because I think so many times people say, you're going to tell me how to do this, and I'm not telling you how to do anything. I'm telling you how I do it. You're sharing how you do it. You're saying these might be some other ways, and we're just kind of throwing everything up in the air, and we're saying, see what falls on your head to make you just enjoy your moment, right?
Yeah, enjoy the journey of life and appreciate all. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to find out more information about Shannon Kaiser, again, the book is 365 Happy Bedtime Mantras, Improve Your Sleep, Release Stress, and Enjoy Your Dreams. Please do click on the link on the bottom of today's show page to go directly to her website for more information. And it is about being able to say, what am I feeling that's coming up for me that I'd like to shift? I'd like to change. Perhaps I'd like to dance with some fairies and maybe just feel a different blanket or maybe open the window. And it's all about being able to say, delight what shows up for your heart, your mind, and your soul, because that is what your true life journey is about. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher. Until tomorrow, have a great day.
Today we discussed many life-changing concepts. Who do you turn to, and how do you know what is best when faced with a health crisis? Dr. Jeanette is a patient advocate. She listens to the patient, the doctors, and the family, clarifies the health issues and concerns, then helps the patient make the best choices going forward. If you would like help implementing change into your life and health, we can talk and see where you are stuck and how to improve the quality of your life. Check the link on the bottom of today's show page or visit drjeanettegallagher.com to schedule a phone appointment today.